Hi, I'm John the Engineer Turmel. And I claim I'm the smartest man on earth. Smartestman.ca for short. On that tower, didn't you? At 500 miles an hour. Well, guess what? Jumbo jets can't do 500 miles an hour through thick sea level air. They would break up. They're built jet doing 500 miles an hour to hit that structure is impossible. Okay. Number two, the funny stuff. You're looking at when the plane hits the structure, and you can see this cutout of a plane, okay? Right down to where the aluminum wings cut through the steel girders. Okay? Well, guess what? An aluminum can crashes up against the steel girder, will go splat. And a plane is nothing but an aluminum can, mainly air. So, what you saw, that cutout, that couldn't have happened. That had to have been explosives for that cutout to be there because aluminum can't cut through steel and cement. It goes splat. Especially when you see the video where the nose of this aluminum plane, which hit it with a goose and you'll dent it, comes out the other side of the building through all those steel girders. I mean, this is a joke to think that aluminum can slice through steel and that you saw it on TV. There it is. And it's right in front of your eyes, the silhouette of the plane. Number three, that fires can melt steel and bring down the towers. I mean, the temperature of steel melting was way higher than anything an office fire can do, which is why firemen go into burning buildings. They know the steel can't melt. Wow. So when you think about it, every engineer in the world knows in his heart that jumbo jets can't do 500 miles an hour at sea level. And every physicist and engineer worth their salt know that aluminum can't pierce steel. And every physicist and engineer worth their salt knows that fire won't melt steel. And yet, most are quiet. Why? They're scared. The great prostitution, as predicted in the Bible. Everybody's scared for their job. If you go against the official story, even if you know it's a lie, you can end up destroyed, lose your job, and your family suffers. So everybody, all the people who know that jumbo jets can't do 500 miles an hour, who know that aluminum can't pierce steel, who know that gas won't melt steel, swallowed the fooled by the thought that a gas fire can melt a building. 2 plane loads melt 3 buildings. Were you fooled by that? Were you fooled by the hole in Shanksville? Anyway, there are so many weird anomalies in this hoax, scientific anomalies, that it has to be a hoax of some kind simply because who would make you believe this kind of stuff, this kind of impossible stuff? So those are the 911 impossibilities. Now, just to convince you how, here's a point. You can be uninformed and you can be misinformed or disinformed. Let's take a class of monkeys. And at the end of the question, you ask them to press true or false, yes or no. Okay, 2 choices. Now, most of the time, on average, you get 50-50. You'd expect, in the long run, 50-50, because they don't know what they're doing. They're just pressing one of the 2 buttons. So you expect it to be some kind of random event. So anyway, now you got humans. So you ask the monkeys, hey, can jumbo jets do more than 500 miles an hour at sea level? And the monkeys would go 50-50. And humans would go 90% yes, because they saw it on their TVs. Had to be CGI. What else could it be? It couldn't have been a plane, right? So it couldn't have been a jumbo. So every situation you have here, the monkeys are coming across at 50-50. And yet humans are 90% believing that aluminum cuts through steel. and 90% of them believe that they better stop using their barbecues and their gas stoves because the grills are going to melt. Well, they haven't, have they? So most people are aware and sense that these things aren't true. So why would they put so many untrue things that are actually quite laughable? But that's just an example. I mean, there are so many examples when you go through history, but I think one of the very best is who shot JFK? Everybody's going to go, Oswald did it. But yet, out there in internet land is evidence that Oswald tested negative for gunpowder. Okay? So, wow, did you know that? It's out there. Garrison said it once in one of his videos. He tested negative for gunpowder. How can he be the shooter? So, and yet, the mainstream media just keeps repeating the mantra, Oswald did it, Oswald did it, Oswald did it. And that's all it takes, even though he tested negative for gunpowder. And they also framed him for killing a cop. 2 murders with no gunpowder on him. So anyway, just to give you an example of how the mainstream media has hypnotized people. I mean, it really is. You look at the United States political system, it's complete hypnosis. You have the Democrats who've been, hypnomedia conditioned to believe that the Republicans are evil and should be attacked as bad as Nazis. I mean, when you call someone a Nazi or a Hitler, you're screaming, please, someone take him out before it's too late. We've all seen those ethical questions. If you were, born when Hitler was a kid, would you take him out knowing what he was going to do? So the question is, would you take out Trump if he's worse than Hitler? And that's what every person who calls someone else a Nazi is doing, right? Saying, please, somebody take him out. We wish him dead. So the U.S. hypnomedia has a whole bunch of the population wishing the other side dead. Wow. While the hypnomedia Republicans, they don't particularly wish the other side dead. They never did before. So that's not being pushed on them. They have their own kind of hypnosis, but they're winning right now. So they don't need that much. They don't need that much affirmation bias. So anyway, so those are the kind of things that are really stupid for people to believe and kind of proves in a sense that they have been hoaxed. Now, the problem. This is in 10 weeks, there'll be a Canadian federal general election. And I'm in the Guinness Book of Records for running in more elections than anyone else in history. 98, this will be number 99. And the last 2 general elections, I organized dream team, smart team of candidates who would support 12 minor parties last election, who would support interest-free Bank of Canada credit card accounts. Now, I've got a video I called Win Biggestly, where I explain the benefits of an interest-free central bank account. And Win Biggestly, just YouTube for it, and you'll get a 20-minute explanation of lots. So we have the Win Biggestly, which kind of shows us how we can win, but it's applied to Canada. The only idea is we need to get interest-free central bank accounts, Bank of Canada accounts. Now, I got a poem at smartestman.ca/1974, which explains how the Bank of Canada used to make interest-free loans available to the Fed and to the provinces for infrastructure, but in how 1974 Pierre Trudeau stopped it. Now he said, go borrow from the private banks and then raise tax to charge everybody interest. Thank you, Pierre, for our national debt. So that is how it used to work. Governments got interest-free loans from the central bank. Well, why shouldn't citizens be able to get interest-free loans from the central bank? Why shouldn't construction bank? Why just the governments? So, to also be able to get interest-free loans from the central banks. Now, In 1984, I financed the world's first online time barter system called Let's, Local Employment Trading Software. And in the original years of the internet, if you Googled for anti-poverty system, Let's would come up. And if you Googled for anti-poverty engineer, I would come up. So the Let's system, the time bank system, simply allows everybody to exchange IOUs for time. So that if you're a poor person with kids, you can post online, you can double duty babysit someone else's kids on a certain night, and then you get a night off yourself later. So it's a way for poor people and pay each other with 1 hour bills for labor owed. And the minimum labor is a child hour, sweeping a park. And then someone else can earn 2 hours per hour, mechanic 3 hours per hour, dentist 6 hours per hour, doctor 10 hours per hour, whatever that way. But the base hour is an unskilled hour paid to a kid, cleaning a park and saving an adult from doing it. So there it is. And so 2 elections ago, I did a dream team where I contacted all of the political parties over my previous career who had at some point supported interest-free Let's software at the Bank of Canada. And I then said, now, there was a time way back in 1988 when the Let's was on the Green Party program. Before someone decided, hey, this works too well, let's take it off. But they used to have it. So I basically got all the candidates from all the small parties I could and filled in all the ridings. And then said for the last 100 or so, we're just going to say Greens are most likely to support what they did in 1988. And that was my dream team. Now, 4 years later, in 2015, with the next general election, Trudeau, again, I got 12 small political parties to all support Bank of Canada accounts. Well, we didn't make the news, so nobody heard about Bank of Canada accounts. Now, what would you do with your Bank of Canada account? Well, what would your friends do with it? Your kids do with it? Well, if you got any debts, credit cards, or mortgages, you're going to cut a check to pay off your debts that are bearing interest. And you'll owe it all to the central bank in one number. And then all your payments go against the principal. And someday you're out of debt. Because it's interest that'll keep you in debt forever. So if you can convert your interest-bearing debts by using interest-free Bank of Canada money, and then paying off Bank of Canada, all payments go against principal, that is the solution that would solve everybody's problem. You give a homeless guy his interest-free credit card, and suddenly he can use it to get an apartment. And once you got an apartment, you can take a bath, and he can use his credit card to get some toiletries and food and other stuff, and even education and a bus pass. So the point is that an interest-free credit card satisfies everybody's needs in the way they need. Playing poker at the tables. You think I watched the lesser players and how they played? No, I read books, okay? I read history books mainly. I wanted to hear what the guys who were there had to say, and sometimes you get nugget from here, nugget from there. You build a whole mosaic of truth. So history, like even Russiagate, wasn't that funny? Trump is a traitor, a Putin puppet. My God, that so many people could have come to believe that. Anyway, with no evidence at all, zero. The point was they tried to dangle lures to make him connect with Russia, and he never did. He avoided all the lures, and then they're stuck out there saying we started this investigation, and he didn't take any lures. Anyway, it was an incredible waste of 2 years, and what makes me back to where they used to be. So now, I think the most incredible of all of the hoaxes going on right now in the United States, may as well talk about this now, is the Fine People hoax in Charlottesville, okay, where Trump said, there were people there who were for the statues, and there were fine people on both sides, and I don't mean the Nazis. Now the media cut off I don't mean the Nazis. And they blew up the statement fine people on both sides, and then showed pictures of the Nazis marching and said Trump said the Nazis were fine people. Now, he's lived with that smear for going on 3 years, and they're still using it. Scott Adams and a couple of other guys, Joel Pollack and another guy, have done a lot to get the story out that Trump said, I don't mean the Nazis, okay, which was cut. So that is about as fraudulent an omission, a lie by omission, that you will ever see. Now, here's my point. If I were Trump, I would crucify any opponent who stood up against me who had hinted that I was some kind of a Nazi supporter. Don't forget, he had Jewish grandchildren and Jewish brother and son-in-law. I mean, it's kind of silly when you think about it, but still, that they could have pushed this Trump, endorsed the Nazis and Charlottesville hoax for so long. Here's the point. He's got the quote. If anybody, his opponent, was on stage against him, if it was me, I would pull out the quote and I'd say, hey, it said right here, I didn't mean the Nazis. Why did you go and tell everybody I said it was the Nazis when I specifically said it wasn't? Whoa! Can you imagine how he can cripple any opponent he's facing who used that lie by omission? That is the most incredible lie by omission in recent history. Cutting out, I didn't mean the Nazis. And then claiming they did, all right? So, and yet, all these people still believe. Now, the point is, that's the main racist hoax, okay, that he complimented the Nazis. Around it are all these other accusations that this looks racist, this looks racist, this looks racist. And don't forget, they give courses in how to be offended, okay? How to detect microaggressions, okay? And so these are the experts in detecting microaggressions, bringing up that Trump could have been here, this could have been racist. But the big one was when he said the Nazis were fine people. Without mentioning, he said, I don't mean the Nazis. Isn't that cute? That's so short. And it will absolutely, he can demand an apology from his opponent for having smeared him. Okay? And you can't get more powerful than righteous indignation and demanding apology from someone when you got him cold. And Trump's got him cold. When he goes in next year, I mean, he's going to cripple whoever is there with that line saying, here it is, not the Nazis. Why'd you say I said it was? Oh, anyway, that is basically some of the wild stuff in how the media controls the narrative and makes up stuff. Now, when I get into global warming, wow, that really makes people mad to be told that that's a hoax, because so many people are in on it. In my last several elections, I'm the only one said, hey, Greenland ain't green yet again. So what idiot can believe that it's warmer now than when Greenland was green? For instance, there's a petition of 31,000 scientists who've signed publicly online, put their name down, and said, I don't believe in man-made global warming. Okay? Our contribution is a pittance, not statistically relevant at all. And yet they claim that 97% of scientists agree. Well, if 97% agree and 3% disagree, and 3% is 30,000, gee, they must have 970,000 to have 97%. And I'm sure they didn't send out that many mailers. And I'm sure they don't have 970,000 scientists who signed they believe man-made global warming. As a matter of fact, my investigation shows it was out of a group of about 89, where 2 guys said no and the other 97% said yes. They culled it down to the people they wanted until they found the ones who all said what they wanted. 97% is a disgusting playing with statistics, okay? If you look into it, and someday they'll do books about it, I'm sure. So, global warming is a complete waste of our resources when we could be spending it preparing to take care of whatever comes, all right? But warming ain't for sure at all. So, now, what other stupid things? Well, I mean, when we talk about money, I've added a little part in my poem where I say, don't forget now, in in 1968, Pierre Trudeau lifted the cap on interest rates. It used to be 6%. And he lifted it, leaving the criminal code cap of 60%. And in 12 years, the central bank went to 22%. Picketing the Bank of Canada every Thursday for 5 years when they changed the rates at that high rate. So 22%, okay, were the rates. Now, I said that the reason foisted on them for such will lower prices high, yet fooled they were by the biggest economic lie. And that basically is the biggest economic lie, that raising interest rates will bring down prices. Think about it. Think about how stupid that could be. And in the 1980s, that was the argument. Inflate. You can still go check. Every time you find inflation rearing its head, you'll say interest is the medicine. Raising costs will lower prices high. How stupid. So, but that was believed. And that was given as the excuse to millions, probably hundreds of millions around the world. Gotta fight inflation with interest rates. Economics teaches. Raise the cost, and that'll bring down those prices. So, now that's an awful lot of stuff that you were led to believe. Now, here's the problem. The powers that be control all the money, all the paychecks, everywhere. They control the paychecks that go to the military. They control the paychecks that go to the media. They control the paychecks that go to the government and to the government handouts and to the doctors and nurses and everybody down the line. So the people who run the money system, the paychecks, control everybody and control their industrial effort. Now, we have rich people. Now, I sit there so many times and I say, what must it be like when, one of the billionaires, one of the 10 top guys who owns the equivalent of what the rest of the half of the world don't have or have. These guys who hogged so much, when their day comes to travel to the other side, on that ship purgatory, what are they going to say to all those other people to explain why they hogged so much they didn't need? Okay. Think of all the people, hundreds of millions each, who suffered misery and want because these guys were hogging more than they needed. So, I look at the world and the suffering imposed on people and I say, oh, wouldn't that be a great comeuppance for the rich, okay? To have to face all the people who were affected by their hogging of all the money. So anyway, I wouldn't want to be a guy with, $100 billion traveling to the next place, Anyway, but I always envision what kind of, maybe they're going to simply have people tell them, because of you, this happened to me, because of you financing this war, me and all my friends were shot and bled to death in the field, Here, feel it. Oh. Anyway, I just wish that there's some righteous justice for the people who hogged what they didn't need to the point that their neighbors died. Anyway, and those 10 top guys are going to have a lot of answering to do, Won't I want to watch their judgment days? So, anyway, now, I've gone over it now, the poisons, and I call them pig people. And that's really unfair to the pigs. Who could hog so much, I mean, how much can you consume in a year? Imagine hogging a billion times more than that, Wow. Anyway, why haven't I been shot yet? So if you look for first declared candidate, way before, mind you, I ran for Prime Minister of Canada in 93 with the Abolitionist Party, 80 candidates, which I financed from my earlier casino bust, Casino Turmel in Ottawa, of my 28 table underground casino. And I had to blow the $1,000,000 before they took it away as proceeds of crime. And I blew it on running for prime minister. So this will be my 4th time. Now, building a super team. Super team. I've been looking for a good name. I've used Dream Team, Smart Team, but the super team could be good. Anyway, the political end of it. Now, there were lots of parties, except the Greens, who supported the Bank of Canada accounts for like 20 years, almost 30. Christian heritage, Wow, way back in the 80s they supported, and there were others too. So that's nice that those people who have a history might come online and add to our noise. And if we can get enough people to speak up and just bring up, hey, how about these interest-free Bank of Canada credit card accounts? See any problem with us getting those? Ask your candidates. All right? If our guys aren't there, just ask, is there something wrong with us getting interest-free Bank of Canada credit card accounts? With the governments too? And why not municipal governments? Why just the feds and the general and the provincials? Why not the municipals? Sure, why not? Okay, so back to my original intention, my script. So, why you're so dumbed down? God, I can't believe it. But again, it's the constant reinforcing on Big Brother, People, they work all day, nose to the grindstone, they get home, and it's an hour of, hypnomedia, getting the story of how they're supposed to think. So, but the stuff they're making people think, is shocking me, making the Democrats want to wish the Republicans dead. Oh, like thinking some kind of threatening evil. It's okay to attack them, in public. Anyway, they're Nazis, so we can attack them in public. Now, let's see what else of the really stupid things. Oh, the flat Earth movement. The flat Earth movement. Okay. Well, anyway, I did a video which said flat Earth easy to prove. And people therefore think that because I said it was easy to prove, that it had been easily proven. That's not what I said. I said it would be easy to prove to me that the Earth ain't round. Now, here you got a round Earth, okay? Everywhere around Earth, on a spherical Earth, you're going to feel the pull of the force of attraction of matter. And if you're at the same distance away, you'll feel the same pull. So if you have a scale, you'll weigh the same 80 kilos. Now, if it were like this, and you weighed 80 kilos here, when you're half closer, up in this corner, now it's even a little farther than this. This is all, the same thing around the circle. But once you're up here, now you're aiming at an angle down towards the center. And it's a farther distance. So you're going to weigh less on your scale. And if you drop something here or here, it'll fall straight down. But if you drop something here, it'll fall at an angle. So, it's easy to convince me the Earth ain't round if you can find one place where my weight scale shows a difference in weight, or where something falls at an angle. So, that is how easy it is to prove that it's not a spherical Earth, just by showing me one place where there's a different pull and there's a different direction. And you got me. So, it's that easy to prove a flat Earth. Now, no one's done it yet. Pumps all over the world, all designed to pull against the same force, okay? So, all pumps work the same thing everywhere, but their argument is that somewhere it's going to be more or it's going to be less. And so far, I've never seen that. Now, flat Earth, easy to prove. Another one, another great misconception. Oil. They tell you that oil is a fossil fuel, and it was from vegetation and from dinosaurs who buried themselves 5 miles down. Okay. Anyway, the point is, I think they found fossils down to 15,000 feet, and they're drilling down to 30,000 feet. So why would there be fossil fuel below the level of fossils? Which leads me to conclude that oil is not a fossil fuel, but probably a geofuel, abiotic. It's not made from life. It comes out of the ground like a mineral or anyway, it's created by the earth. And I don't think it's going to run out. We keep finding more, right? I mean, how many dinosaurs you think and how many funerals they buried themselves that far down? So obviously, fossil fuel is another really pretty silly explanation for oil and coal. So that's another big lie. So now, I don't think right now I want to go into fake history. Okay, that's another story that all in itself that'll take all of tomorrow. I think that would be fun. I mean, so much bullshit history. Don't forget, I've read a lot of history books, and so much stuff that. What can I say? Look at the stuff they're doing wrong right now. The Crimea story. They're not mentioning the referendum to fool people into thinking Russia annexed Crimea and must be punished with sanctions. Or what about the Skripal poisoning in Britain? Didn't Trudeau go out there and impose sanctions on Russia for the poisoning nobody can prove? Oh, Justin, you're such a beta boy. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the TV hoaxes. Well, maybe I can do them now, okay? I mean, when I was watching the Syria takedown and I saw in Syria when they took down the Saddam Hussein statue, you saw these crowds of people around there dancing and cheering as it got pulled out. But then they had a camera angle from across the yard, 200 yards away in some embassy, and they showed that the square was empty except for the demonstrators around the statue. But I started to call me the pygmy press, the midget media, because every time you see some of these guys who are against, Gaddafi, you'd see them with the media looking up like this at them on top of their trucks, but it's always a low down shot up, so you never see how many people are in the background. So I always thought that was amazing. But then there've been a lot of what I think are possible hoaxes, out and out hoaxes. And I think my all-time favorite is the Boston Marathon. Okay? Because at one point, you got this guy, he gets his legs blown off. Now, if you know first aid, okay, you stop the bleeding and you get the guy's legs up until an ambulance arrives to take him away. What do these cowboys do? Stick him in a wheelchair and race him down the road. Did you see that? Well, there's a part where, as they're racing the guy down the road and you can see his stump, the leg bone, it falls off. It was phony, and the guy picked it up and put it back on. So, wow, if the guy's bone was a phony prosthesis, wow, what am I supposed to believe about that one? I mean, there have been so many weird ones. Let's give it, even in Canada, the Parliament Hill hoax. I remember a scene of two cops running across the street. Maybe the sniper was going to shoot him, and they were rushing to get behind a building. And as soon as they got behind the building, they busted out laughing. That's called duping delight. Okay? When you're participating in hoaxing people, if you think you got away with it, you laugh. Another example of duping delight was the Orlando disco. Okay? Now, what people didn't notice is that when they're carrying the victim, okay, well, after they're out of camera range, or they thought, they put him down and they start laughing. But what's most interesting is you can see the background, the disco. They were bringing them back to the disco. They weren't taking them away. So I'm just saying that, how can you believe this stuff? What else? The San Clemente shooting. The original reports were 3 tall men in black, and then they ended up with a little brown man and brown woman dead, Whoa, didn't that seem funny? Sandy Hook, well, they had this decrepit school with mold on the floor, and they only ever showed one picture of the kids, and you had this father coming out smirking, about that before he gets all tense and cries about his daughter gone. So, all that kind of stuff adds up to, something stinks. And, of course, the Alex Jones suit, they're suing him for having said it wasn't true, whatever. And that will, by him losing, that will prove that it's true, okay? This decrepit old school that couldn't pass a safety test, they were really using it that day. Yeah. Now, in France, that was another one. There was some sort of a shooting in one of these entertainment places, and you see this woman hanging out of a window, and she's hanging there for like 2-3 minutes, okay, at one point with one hand. What is she, an acrobat? Give me a break. So, and of course, the Vegas shooting. Now, 50 people dead or something like that? But here's the point. If you look at those videos of the people running out, you don't see anybody with. And again, when you look at the Charlottesville, those are all the kind of weird, phony victim's leg falls off and they put it back on. And it's still standing. The hoax stands. Boston Marathon attack, still there. They're thinking of executing the guy? Who knows? Whatever. Anyway, wild stuff when you think about it, eh? But I saw it. I saw the guy with the bone fall off and they put it back on. It's out there somewhere. Just doesn't make the news. The TV hosts. I'll probably go into, the stuff about Donald Trump and what happened to him. Because let's face it, if you get flack, you're over the target. And no other president has ever gotten this kind of attack by the deep state. You're talking, I've always known that both sides are owned by the owners. It's called compromise. Everybody is compromised at some point. Epstein's probably running around, taping people, fooling around with 15-year-old girls so they can blackmail them to do what they want. Okay? That's compromise. And why wouldn't they do it all the time, everywhere? So I just figure that virtually everybody in the Washington establishment is in some way compromised, or they wouldn't let them that high up, since they control who goes up. And in the past, none of the other presidents bothered the establishment, but Trump did. Wow. And they reared up all of the organs of government to attack him. FBI, CIA, NSA, Foreign Services, Congress. Wow. And he beat it all. Wow. What an impressive story. And what an incredible hoax. So, anyway, last question. Now, why haven't I been shot? That's because my motto has always been and stated ASA, Global Aspirin, which means that I'm willing to do amnesty for everybody, including bankers, and security, which is an interest-free credit card at the Central Time Bank, and anonymity. If you want to change your name, okay, from Rothschild or from Bush or whatever, you want to quit, you don't want people to bother you, sure, change your name. Forgive and forget. God will deal with you later. Or you might face some kind of purgatory on the trip over. So anyway, finally now, I'll go back to quickly my claims to fame. Now, if you look at my webpage, smartestman.ca, the first picture you're going to see is this. A picture of me with the miracle equation from 1981, which explains why I ran in 98 elections. Now, it also explains Shift B. Inflation can be Shift A, more money the good, chasing the goods, Or shift B, same money chasing same goods? Well, economics teaches shift A only. And I am the only person on the planet who knows there's another possibility. They can't even look at the other possibility, shift B inflation. And I discovered it. So, that's shift B, the Guinness exhibit. So, again, for those who want to, this is the Guinness record book for 1997 when I first appeared. And this is the royalty and government page. Most elections contested. And I like to add most elections lost. And finally, my anthology of great Canadian characters, where the great Canadian gambler was first mentioned for running in elections and fighting banks and other stuff. Now, I'm also going to be doing a GoFundMe at some point soon, for all the people I've helped. Now, if you look at the good my Let's Time Bank has done around the world, if I helped you out, GoFundMe. If you look at good when I made them drop 4,000 marijuana charges, in 2003. If you were one of the lucky people who had your charges dropped in 2003, GoFundMe. Brantford Old Folks Homes. I've been doing accordion concerts full time since 1981 when the judge first sentenced me to community service for playing 21. Okay, gave me 21 days for playing 21. And they converted it to accordion time in old folks' homes, and I've kept doing it ever since. So I know that there are a lot of souls in heaven for whom I was their last good time. And I'll be doing a concert tomorrow at the Riverview home in Brantford. So a few noteworthy things in 1995. I was voted the Internet King of the Month. Kook of the Month, for saying that Jesus spoke in differential equations. That offended so many people that I said that I cracked Jesus's parable code to figure out what his 7 times most often quote meant. And I got voted the Internet Kook of the Month, July 1995, for that. So, lots of other stuff. Let's see now. Now, another good point. I came up with a simple system that can eliminate voter fraud. And when it's such a big deal, everywhere with the challenge with the computers, here's how my university used to pass out the grades at the end of the year. They would post everybody's student numbers in a list with their grades beside it. And you knew your number. Almost very few people, other people did. And you went and looked, and you got to see what your grade was. I said, what would happen if they put a serial number on your ballot? And they gave you a receipt with the serial number showing your vote, or a carbon copy. Then you could go home at night, they could post the ballot serial numbers, and you could check that your vote was registered right. And if it wasn't, you have proof in hand that someone fudged it. Got it? So, it was Stalin who said, I don't care how they vote, I care who counts the votes. All right? And I'm saying that with serial numbered ballots, the counters cannot cheat anymore. Ta-da! I know there's an American who also thought that idea up too. So, no fraud ballot at my, smartestman.ca site. So, and other than that, I'm going to suggest that, I did the first video in 2003, I believe, of me chugging a mug of pee to promote urine therapy as a cheap, multifaceted medication that is a shame to see wasted down the drain. So you can check my videos. It's called Cure All Fast, because if you recycle, you can then do a long fast because you don't get hungry. And I did a 28-day straight fast with just recycling. And if you look at the benefits of fasting, killing cancer cells, autophagy, I did 28 days, and it starts killing cancer after 5. And a second time, I did 4 months, eating one feast every week. So, in such a spectacular way. All right. And it's at my site, John, smartestman.ca/KOTP, my index of videos. So, I am going to sign off now. That's been an hour. And I will see you tomorrow night with more information on. I have my original script here that I want to go over, but I'll be able to go into more detail and show you more headlines. So, thank you for attending this first day's live stream, and I'm glad that I got my chance to start it. Let's see what happens by the end of 70 days.